That irresistible offer at the dealership is not a gift, it is a financial death sentence. While the salesperson smiles, they hide from you that this model already has its days numbered. Buying a car with an expiration date is throwing your money into a pit. Resale value collapses and parts become ghosts. Today we unmask the 17 legends that will be sacrificed this year on the altar of electrification. Do not finance the brand's transition with your own pocket. Discover which cars to avoid right now. Let's begin. Number 17. Nissan Altima. The Nissan Altima has long been the standard bearer of Japanese resilience in the mid-size sedan segment, but the 2026 model will mark the end of its road. This vehicle, which was once the most feared rival of the Toyota Camry and the Honda Civic, has fallen victim to a perfect storm of internal and external factors. The main reason for its disappearance is not that it is a bad product, but that the market has stopped looking toward the ground. Today's buyers prefer the elevated driving position of a Rogue or the versatility of a Pathfinder, leaving the Altima in a position of commercial irrelevance. In addition, Nissan has faced persistent criticism for years due to its continuously variable transmissions, which, although they improved significantly in recent generations, left a stain on the model's long-term reliability reputation. By trying to compete in a segment that shrinks more every day, Nissan has decided that the resources allocated to updating the Altima will be better used in its line of electric vehicles. If you buy an Altima now, you will be left with a sedan that no one will want to buy from you in 5 years, facing depreciation that will far exceed any initial savings the salesperson may offer you. Number 16. Chevrolet Malibu. The discontinuation of the Chevrolet Malibu represents the end of an era for General Motors. We are talking about the last surviving sedan from a brand that once dominated American roads with this type of silhouette. After 9 generations and more than 60 years of intermittent history, the Malibu has been removed from the production line to make room for the next generation of electric vehicles and to expand the manufacturing of the Chevrolet Bolt. The problem with the Malibu is that it got stuck in time while its Asian rivals evolved with cutting-edge hybrid systems and all-wheel drive. General Motors simply stopped investing in it, allowing the interior to feel outdated and its small displacement turbo engines to be insufficiently attractive compared to the durability of the competition's naturally aspirated engines. By buying a Malibu today, you are acquiring technology that General Motors itself considers obsolete. Dealerships are desperate to get rid of the remaining units because they know that once production stops completely, the resale value will drop like a stone in a pit. It is a comfortable and spacious car, but a terrible financial asset that will leave you trapped in a lease or financing agreement for an object the world has already forgotten. The Chevrolet Malibu represents the sacrifice of history in favor of profit margins. General Motors has decided to end 60 years of this sedan's trajectory to prioritize the production of electric vehicles and trucks that yield higher profits per unit sold. The problem for anyone buying a Malibu now is that they acquire a vehicle the brand has let die with no direct successor in sight. This means the car's image will age suddenly, severely affecting its value in the used market. It is a reliable and spacious vehicle. But in an environment where the manufacturer no longer bets on sedans, the Malibu stands as a reminder of an era that Chevrolet wants to quickly forget in order to meet its goals of full electrification. Number 15. Dodge Durango. The Dodge Durango is a dinosaur that has survived much longer than industry logic would dictate. But finally, environmental laws and Stellantis' shift in focus have caught up to this veteran. The Durango uses a platform that shares DNA with the old Mercedes-Benz M-Class from 2 decades ago, and although it has been constantly updated with powerful Hemi engines and Hellcat versions that defy physics, its architecture can no longer hide the passage of time. The disappearance of the Durango for the 2026 model year responds to Dodge's need to clean up its corporate emissions average. The 8-cylinder engines that gave it its identity are impossible to maintain under the new regulations, and the brand prefers to launch an entirely new platform that can house more efficient hybrid and electric propulsion systems. The risk of buying a Durango right now is twofold. On one hand, fuel consumption is astronomical compared to any modern standard, and on the other, you are paying a premium vehicle price for a platform that is structurally old. Resale of these units will suffer a critical hit when its successor appears, which will likely revive the stealth name, making the Durango look old overnight. Number 14. Maserati Ghibli. Italian luxury is not immune to the cruelty of balance sheets, and the Maserati Ghibli is living proof of that. This sedan was born with the promise of bringing the prestige of the Trident to a wider audience, but ended up becoming a headache for its owners and a burden for the brand. The Ghibli will disappear in 2026 because Maserati is restructuring its entire lineup under the concept of absolute luxury and full electrification. The Ghibli's great flaw was sharing too many internal components with economical Chrysler and Dodge models. It is unacceptable to pay more than $80,000 for a car and find buttons, levers, and infotainment systems that you would see in a vehicle costing a quarter of the price. Furthermore, mechanical reliability has been questionable from day one, with maintenance costs that can bankrupt anyone without an unlimited budget. The Ghibli's depreciation is one of the harshest in modern automotive history. It is common to see units with 3 years of use that have lost 60% of their original value. If you decide to buy one now, you will be acquiring a mechanical problem wrapped in a beautiful body that no one will want to touch in the used market once the warranty expires. Number 13. Kia Forte/Cerato. The case of the Kia Forte is different from the others, but no less dangerous for the unsuspecting buyer. Kia has decided to eliminate the Forte and Cerato names globally to unify its design language and nomenclature under the K4 name. Although this seems like a simple name change, it actually represents a generational leap that leaves the current Forte as a model from a past era. The Forte has been an excellent economy vehicle, offering an industry-leading warranty and generous equipment, but its current architecture is not prepared for the new safety and driver assistance demands that Kia is implementing in its most recent models. The danger here lies in the fact that dealerships will try to sell you the outgoing Forte as an end-of-season bargain, but what they are really doing is giving you a vehicle that will look aesthetically outdated the moment the first K4 hits the streets. The value of models with discontinued names always suffers an extra hit in the used market, as buyers perceive the old name as synonymous with inferior technology. If you're looking for a Kia, the smartest move is to wait for the full transition or look for a model with guaranteed continuity, thus avoiding being the one who pays for the brand's renewal. Number 12. Jaguar F-Type. Jaguar has made one of the riskiest decisions in its century-long history by announcing that the F-Type will be the last combustion sports car to leave its factories. The end of this model is not just the death of a car, it is the death of a sonic identity. The F-Type, especially in its 8-cylinder versions, was considered by many the spiritual successor to the legendary E-Type, offering a design that turned heads and an exhaust that gave goosebumps. However, Jaguar has decided to transform into a purely electric brand by 2026, leaving behind the only vehicle that still gave it credibility among enthusiasts. The problem with buying an F-Type right now is that Jaguar is moving away from its traditional service network to focus on an ultra-luxury electric market that does not yet exist. This means that technical support and the collectible value of the last units could be affected by a brand trying to erase its gasoline past as quickly as possible. It is a beautiful car, but you risk being stuck with a mechanical jewel that the manufacturer itself prefers to ignore in its new era of silence. Number 11. Alfa Romeo Giulia. The Alfa Romeo Giulia is perhaps the most balanced and thrilling sedan produced in the last decade, capable of surpassing any German competitor in driving dynamics. But Italian beauty and precision engineering were not enough to save Stellantis' bottom line. The Giulia has suffered for years from the brand's poor reputation regarding electronic reliability and a dealer network that never matched a premium product. With the announcement that the next generation will be exclusively electric, the 2026 gasoline Giulia becomes the swan song of a platform born to win but drowned in sales. Buying a Giulia today is an emotional gamble that makes no financial sense. Alfa Romeo's depreciation is legendary, and without a combustion model to continue the legacy, these units will lose value rapidly. You are acquiring a vehicle whose infotainment technology was already outdated when it was released, and whose resale is an almost impossible mission outside very specific collector circles. Number 10. Ford Edge. The case of the Ford Edge is a reminder of how quickly the market can change. Just 5 years ago, this was one of Ford's most profitable and popular products, perfectly positioned between the Escape and the Explorer. However, Ford has decided that the Edge has no place in its electrified future. Production at the Oakville plant will end to make way for new electric vehicles that Ford hopes will dominate the second half of the decade. The Edge became irrelevant because its platform did not allow for efficient hybridization and because its design, although solid, feels like a relic of the past decade compared to Korean and Japanese competition. Dealerships are overloaded with units they are trying to move with aggressive promotions, but don't be fooled. The moment Ford officially announces that the last unit has left the line, the Edge will become an orphan vehicle. The drop in resale value will be immediate and significant, turning what seems like a sensible purchase into a liability for your assets. Number 9. Subaru Legacy. Subaru has built its legend on the foundation of symmetrical all-wheel drive and safety, and the Legacy was for decades the standard bearer of these values in sedan form. But the world has changed, and Subaru has decided that the year 2025 will be the last for this model, leaving the Outback as the sole carrier of that torch. The Legacy dies because Subaru buyers have almost entirely shifted toward SUVs and crossovers. Despite being an extremely safe and capable car in adverse weather, the Legacy cannot compete with the versatility of its range siblings. By buying a Legacy now, you are acquiring a vehicle that no longer has a clear purpose within its own brand. The model's disappearance means that, in the long term, body panels and specific interior components will become harder to find and more expensive. It is a car that delivers in every aspect but no longer excites anyone, and in a market that punishes indifference, its value in the used market is destined to vanish. This massive drop of established names is not an isolated event. It is a systematic purge that will have devastating consequences for the average consumer. When a brand discontinues a model to force an electric transition, it is not only stopping the production of a car, it is breaking a support ecosystem. The impact on the spare parts market is the first symptom. Original parts start to become scarce, and external manufacturers lose interest in producing components for a vehicle that is no longer on the streets. This raises maintenance costs and insurance premiums, as even minor repairs become a logistical challenge. Resale is the final blow. A discontinued car is seen by the market as a product with an expiration date, forcing owners to accept laughable prices if they need to sell quickly. We are witnessing the end of an era where consumer choice has been replaced by corporate survival needs, and those who fail to read the signs will end up paying the price of an industry that no longer looks in the rearview mirror. Number 8. Toyota Yaris Sedan. The Toyota Yaris has been for decades the symbol of rational buying, a car that did not promise luxury but did offer indestructible reliability. However, Toyota has decided that the small sedan format no longer has a future in its global strategy, shifting all interest toward the Yaris Cross. This is a direct betrayal of consumers seeking fuel economy and a low entry price. By discontinuing the sedan, Toyota is forcing its customers to move to a higher segment with much higher prices. If you buy a Yaris sedan today, you are acquiring technology that the brand already considers obsolete. The problem is not that the car is bad, but that it has become orphaned. Without a new generation on the horizon, interest in this model in the used market will evaporate quickly. What was once a guaranteed investment due to high resale value is now an asset losing value every minute it sits in your garage. It is contradictory to see a Toyota on a list of failures or farewells, but the Yaris sedan has fallen victim to the Japanese brand's own strategy. Toyota has decided that the future of its entry-level segment is the Cross version, a taller and more expensive vehicle, leaving the traditional sedan behind. Although the Yaris is synonymous with durability, the fact that no new generations are planned turns current units into stagnant models. Dealerships will try to sell the remaining inventory with promises of reliability, but the truth is that the model's image support and relevance will soon disappear. It is a car that fulfills its function, but from an investment perspective, it is a static purchase that will see no improvements or updates, losing ground to competitors who are innovating in this price range. Number 7. Mitsubishi Mirage. The Mitsubishi Mirage stayed alive much longer than it deserved simply for being the cheapest car in America. But price is no longer a sufficient excuse to ignore a platform that feels unsafe on modern roads. Mitsubishi has finally decided to withdraw the Mirage from the market because it cannot meet the new safety regulations without making an investment the brand is unwilling to commit to. It is a vehicle with negligible power that struggles to keep up with current traffic and whose resale value has always been mediocre. With the announcement of its final retirement, that value will drop to scrap levels. Those who bought a Mirage to save money will end up losing more in depreciation than they ever saved on gas. It is the end of an era of disposable cars that should never have lasted this long. And buying one now is accepting that your money will disintegrate along with the cheap plastic of its interior. Number 6. Audi, a 4 and a 5 gasoline. Audi is executing one of the most confusing and risky renaming restructures in the automotive industry. In its drive toward electrification, the four-ring brand has decided that even numbers will be for electric models and odd numbers for combustion engines. This means that the Audi A4, the quintessential gasoline sedan, disappears to be absorbed into a new nomenclature. This change creates an immediate identity vacuum. Current A4 owners will find that their car belongs to a line that Audi has decided to completely redefine, which confuses used car buyers and punishes the vehicle's value. The bet on ending pure combustion engines in these segments is a blow to enthusiasts who value traditional German engineering. You are paying a premium price for a vehicle that the brand itself is trying to retire in order to push you toward electric options that still raise questions about range and long-term value. Number 5. Jeep Renegade. The Jeep Renegade entered the market promising to be the entry point into off-road legend, but it ended up being a product that never fully fit Stellantis' vision. The baby Jeep suffers from a space and efficiency crisis that has made it irrelevant compared to more modern and spacious competitors. The decision to remove it from the production line reflects the brand's preference to focus resources on higher-margin models like the Compass or Grand Cherokee. The Renegade was always a niche vehicle with questionable reliability in its electronic components and transmissions. Once out of production, repair costs, which were already high for a vehicle of its size, will skyrocket. Buying a Renegade right now means acquiring a charming design, but one condemned to technical oblivion, where finding specific body parts or control modules will become a constant headache for the second or third owner. The Jeep Renegade was a brave attempt to bring the brand's mystique to the compact vehicle segment, but its high maintenance cost and questionable reliability in electronic components sealed its fate. Stellantis has decided to withdraw this model from several key markets because it can no longer compete on price against Asian options that offer more for less money. Buying a Renegade today is entering into a commitment with a vehicle that suffers accelerated depreciation due to its reputation for frequent trips to the workshop. Although its design remains attractive and unique, the mechanical reality is that its platform has become outdated. The resale market is already punishing this model, and by 2026 it will be extremely difficult to find a buyer willing to pay a fair price for a used unit. Number 4. Porsche Taycan First Generation. The Porsche Taycan was introduced as the ultimate killer of electric competition, a display of German engineering promising to maintain the brand's DNA while abandoning gasoline. However, the first-generation Taycan has become a nightmare of depreciation for its early owners. In the used market, these cars are losing value at a pace that even the most experienced collectors find alarming. The problem lies in the fact that battery technology evolves so quickly that a 3-year-old Taycan looks like an outdated smartphone. Out-of-warranty repair costs are astronomical, and charging infrastructure remains an obstacle for many. Those who bought this car thinking it was a luxury investment now face the reality that their vehicle is worth less than half of what they paid, while Porsche is already promoting new versions that make the previous one seem obsolete. The depreciation of this model is a phenomenon that should be studied in economics schools. A first-generation Taycan owner sees their wealth vanish every time a new energy management software hits the market, leaving their unit as a piece of obsolete technology. It's not just a car, it's a computer on wheels whose battery has a clearly marked technical expiration date. Luxury buyers are migrating toward models with greater range and better thermal charging systems, leaving these early units as toxic assets that no one wants in a trade-in. It is the perfect example that a brand's prestige cannot stop the free fall of a product outpaced by its own evolution. Number 3. Volvo S60. Volvo has decided that its future lies exclusively in SUVs and elevated electric vehicles, which means the end of the road for the elegant S60. This sedan, which represented Swedish sobriety and safety in a low aerodynamic format, has been sentenced to death due to lack of mass-market interest. By halting its production, Volvo leaves current S60 owners with a vehicle that will immediately lose brand image support. It is an excellent car, with high-quality interiors and refined handling, but in a world obsessed with sport utility vehicles, the S60 became invisible. Buying one now means acquiring a model that the brand itself no longer wants to promote, destroying any hope of maintaining solid resale value over the next 5 years. The Swedish elegance of the S60 faces a wall of corporate indifference. Volvo has made it clear that its energy is focused on larger vehicles and shared electric platforms, making the S60 a survivor without a future. This sedan, though comfortable and safe, lacks the commercial drive necessary to maintain its value over time. System updates and the availability of components specific to this low design will start to dwindle as the brand centralizes production in SUVs. Acquiring this vehicle is accepting that you are buying the end of an era, a car that will have no successor and will be remembered as the brand's last failed attempt to compete in a segment they themselves decided to abandon. Number 2. Ram 1500 Classic. For years, the Ram 1500 Classic was the smart choice for those wanting a rugged, proven work truck with the legendary 8-cylinder Hemi engine. But time has run out for the DS platform. Stellantis has decided to retire this model permanently to make way for turbo 6-cylinder engines and electrified options. The farewell to the Hemi engine is a blow to purists' hearts, but beyond sentiment, it is a financial warning sign. The disappearance of the classic version means that the market for original spare parts will start to shrink, and the value of these trucks will stagnate compared to new generations offering greater technology and efficiency. Although many will rush to buy the last units out of nostalgia, the reality is that you are purchasing a platform more than 15 years old that will soon be seen as an expensive relic to maintain. The persistence of the DS platform in Ram's catalogue was a masterstroke for dominating the fleet and heavy-duty sector, but that rope has broken. With the final departure of the 8-cylinder Hemi engine, the Ram 1500 Classic loses its main selling point and its identity. What was once proven mechanical robustness is now perceived as unjustifiable fuel consumption and a lack of innovation compared to new emission standards. Companies and individuals who still rely on this model will face a complicated resale, as the used market will be saturated with worn fleet units, pushing prices aggressively downward with no recovery. Number 1. Nissan Leaf. The Nissan Leaf was the pioneer that showed the world that an electric car could be for the masses, but its fall is the industry's biggest failure due to pure design negligence. While all its competitors evolved toward liquid-cooled battery systems, Nissan stubbornly clung to air cooling. The result has been massive battery degradation, leaving the cars with ridiculous range after just a few years of use. The Leaf not only fell behind in technology, but its charging connector became obsolete compared to the global standard. It is the car that causes its owners the most financial loss in the used market, because no one wants to buy a battery that is slowly dying. The Pioneer became a warning of what happens when a brand becomes complacent and stops innovating in the areas that truly matter. Protecting your money in 2026 requires more than ever a cold, emotion-free vision. The golden rule for this year is to avoid at all costs models in their final production year or first-generation electric cars that have not proven controlled degradation. Patience is your best ally because we are at a tipping point where new car prices will have to adjust to the low demand in certain segments. Do not be seduced by dealership clearance discounts. Those discounts are only a small part of what you will lose in depreciation the day you try to sell the car. Research the platform, ensure the engine has a long-term future, and above all, do not buy a technological promise that has not yet stood the test of time. The smart buyer prefers a proven model over a novelty that could disappear tomorrow.